Picture this scene, man. It's midnight. You're lying in bed, scrolling your phone. Some kid your age is on Instagram, posing behind the wheel of a brand new car he just bought. And you're sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to split what's left between groceries and gas tomorrow. And somewhere in your head, that voice goes, I'm never going to see seven figures in my life. It's over. Look, I felt that. I've had plenty of those sleepless nights too. But let me tell you something straight. As someone who spent years trading, years in the markets, your first million will feel like it takes forever. But the second one comes in 3 years. The third one moves even faster. By the fourth, it actually starts getting funny. We'll come back to the scene at the end, because that's where the real code is hidden. The reason your first million hurts so much isn't that you ate ramen for 20 years. And it's not that you didn't grind hard enough either. Here's the real reason. Your brain has to rebuild its entire relationship with money from scratch. Remember your first day behind the wheel? Check the mirror, signal, ease off the brake, don't hit the mailbox. 1,000 calculations running in your head at once. Years later, you're holding a coffee, mentally writing your grocery list, and somehow you're still driving perfectly. Money works the exact same way. It's a kind of muscle memory. In the early years, the market dips a little and you panic sell. You chase some hot trend and burn your cash. You blow your emergency fund on something that felt important at the time. None of that is a character flaw. It's just tuition, the price of admission to the School of Finance. Once you've built that muscle memory, though, you can smell a bad investment from across the room. But here's something nobody says out loud. When you're starting from zero, fear becomes your closest companion. Every investment feels like flipping a coin with your entire future. What if the market crashes? What if that apartment turns into a money pit? What if I need cash for an emergency? And honestly, that fear isn't irrational. Losing half of your $5,000 really is a brutal setback. So you play it safe. You take lower returns. Your savings grow slower. The fear sticks around longer. The loop locks itself right there. But look at the guy who's already got that first million in the bank. The market drops 30% and he's still sleeping fine. Because he's watched crashes before, watched the recovery that always follows, and he's got a cushion big enough to absorb any storm. Let's talk about debt. Honestly, I think this is the most important part. Most people are drowning in car payments, credit card balances, student loans. But the truly wealthy have either wiped out that bad debt completely or flipped it in their favor. That car you're paying off for 7 years? Bad debt. That credit card balance left over from last summer's trip? Bad debt. It's like a bucket with a hole in it. You keep pouring money in from the top, and it just leaks out the bottom. But a rental property that puts cash in your pocket every month, or a smart loan that grows your business, that's good debt. Real wealthy people stop being debtors the moment they hit that first million. They become creditors instead. They earn interest instead of paying it. Banks compete to lend to them because their risk is low. When a good deal shows up, they've already got the down payment ready. Their credit score opens every door. Their assets serve as collateral. They move instantly. Your version from 5 years ago sees the same opportunity and has neither the down payment nor the right terms. The deal slips away to someone else. That's why wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It compounds. It's not just more money, it's access to better terms and better information. Let's do a little math. Someone earning $50,000 a year who saves 10% puts away $5,000 a year. Disciplined, sure, but it's a small number. $1 million portfolio, though, growing at a modest 8%, adds around $80,000 a year. And that's without you lifting a finger. Going from 1 million to 2 takes roughly 9 years. The next million comes in about 6. The third in 4. By the time you hit your 4th million, a new one is landing roughly every 3 years. At that point, your money is basically running on autopilot. But the real revolution isn't in the numbers. It's in your head. When you've got 50 grand, you're asking, can I afford this? Once you cross 1 million, that question turns into, does this fit my long-term strategy? You basically stop playing checkers and start playing chess. The average person finances things that lose value the moment they're bought, like a car. Wealthy people collect things that put money in their pocket every month. One guy's comparing interest rates on a loan. The other's calculating rental yield and cash flow. They even turn their expenses into tax advantages. Home office deductions, business lunch write-offs, and so on. None of it's illegal. It's just the legal incentives baked into the system. Those who know. Here's the most important part. They build systems instead of setting goals. Instead of forcing themselves to save more this month, the money gets automatically routed into investments before it even hits their checking account. The emergency fund refills itself because emotion is wealth's biggest enemy. Fear makes you sell at exactly the wrong moment. Greed sends you chasing whatever trend is hot. A system takes those emotions out of the equation entirely. That 2-point gap between an 8 and a 10% return might sound small, but on $1 million portfolio, it's $20,000 a year. And over a decade, that compounds into hundreds of thousands. That's why experienced investors get borderline obsessive about squeezing out an extra point or two of return. Like an experienced doctor who can diagnose something the second he walks into the room, wealthy people can spot a bad deal from across the room too. They decide in 30 seconds because years of getting burned basically earned them a practical PhD. And here's the unfair part. The best opportunities are closed off to ordinary people from the start. Private equity deals, hedge funds, minimum investments starting at 100 grand. But the truth is, the real secret to wealth isn't some hidden formula. It's starting early and staying consistent. Someone investing $300 a month at 25 will usually end up wealthier than someone starting with $1,000 a month at 45. Time is the one thing money can't buy. Honestly, it bugs me when people waste years chasing the perfect strategy. They're optimizing the wrong variable. At 2 million, you're generating roughly $160,000 a year out of thin air. At 3 million, $240,000. At 4, nearly $320,000. Sometimes those numbers get so big, they stop feeling real. When your account grows 50 grand in a single month, finding $20 on the sidewalk just doesn't hit the same anymore. So right here, let's circle back to that midnight scene I opened with. That moment of splitting cash between groceries and gas, that wasn't an ending. That was the actual beginning of your story. The moment you hit that first million, you stop thinking like someone who's cash-strapped. You start thinking like someone with options. And once you're a few millions in, the question stops being, how do I make money? It becomes, what do I even do with all this? Bottom line, the first million is brutal because you're fighting your own psychology and limited resources. You're paying real tuition for real lessons. But once you've earned that financial PhD, compound growth starts carrying the weight for you. And every million after that basically lands in your lap on its own. So put the phone down, stop comparing yourself to everyone else, and start building the systems today that are going to make your future self absurdly rich.